Hello.
Hello, I feel like I've seen you a bunch recently.
I know. We're gonna turn this into a daily podcast. I don't know.
Seriously, breaking news only.
Gosh, geez, yeah. But I like the special episode. I'd like to throw in a little wrinkle to the audience. They think they know our schedule. Boom, special
Boom, we
episode.
get the most popular man on the internet.
Yes, we
Yeah,
got
that
we
was
got
fun.
connections.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we had Caleb before that, so we had two interviews. Are we turning into an interview show? Let's answer that question.
The answer is no, but I'll
Okay.
be honest, it's pretty tempting. One, it's a lot of fun. It's a
Yeah,
lot of fun to have other people on.
hmm
Um, but two, it just the numbers look so good. Number go up,
juice.
man.
Number go up and
Yeah.
to the right. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's tempting, but I will say, I feel like there were so many shows that I used to listen to that then just turned into interview shows that had the same people on that were on every other show.
Right.
And so it was like these bootstrap shows that used to be like ride-alongs, and then it was, hey, we're gonna do interviews because it's easier, and somebody's doing the interview rounds, and it's like, oh shoot, now every
Right.
show I listened to that week
That
is the
same
same
guy's on.
person.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. Hate that.
Hate that. So I don't want to become that. But I do think it's
Yeah.
fun every now and then to have somebody come on and just like be a part of the show and not
Yep.
do like the big interview thing.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect balance, right? It's like when you can just drop somebody in once in a while who's just like a good fit and it's fun and it's interesting to listen to. That's great. Like not forcing it. That's the thing with the interview show is you end up like having to force it. It's like, how do I find 52 interesting people to be
Right.
on this show? And then so you're like, okay, well, Rando just has something to talk about this week because they've launched something or whatever. And then you're like, okay, well, I guess we'll have Rando on because they got something to talk about. And then you're
Yeah.
down that road of it's super boring and all that. So
Yeah, it's super boring. You're doing backstory the whole time,
yeah.
and it's just like, this isn't very fun to listen to.
And both of these guests really tied into the show because we've been on
Mm-hmm.
Livewire a lot, we've been on React a lot, and so I feel like that was an awesome fit. And if we can just find people like that who add to what we've been discussing recently, I feel like that's a good idea, but not forcing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of great feedback on those episodes. Tons of
Yeah.
people tweeting us. The creator of React chimed in, thought the episode was
I
great.
know.
So
That
that
was
was
crazy.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
Dan
was
Abramov quoted me and said, like, this is a great episode. I really enjoyed the way they talked about it. And I was like, oh, wow, you're kind of a big deal.
yeah. He was like, we should turn it into a blog post. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't know if we're actually going to do that, but
Oh, we're
we probably
definitely
should do
not. But
things like
Sam should. Yeah.
that.
That's
Yeah, Sam
go
should.
for it, Sam. That's your
Yeah.
content. I'm not doing
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. And then I thought Caleb's podcast was great.
Yeah.
What are your having let it simmer for a little bit? I listened to the part where I wasn't on it, so
All
I got
right.
to listen to the components part and a
Yes.
little bit of that. And then some people linked us to some component libraries that were like Flex UI or something like that.
Right.
And
There's
then
some other
I
ones.
I linked to Adam Wathan tweet where he's like, I've been working on this combo box for. I thought I was done for the past 2 weeks, and stuff
Yep.
keeps coming up. So what's the final Ian take on the components?
I definitely, well, I mean, just in general, I think Livewire components are a great idea because unlike all these other component libraries, it's like people are reinventing the wheel a lot on a lot of component libraries right now, but one that's dedicated to Livewire isn't reinventing the wheel so heavily because there's a one kind of sizable open source one, but it's not that big, and you have to like adopt a lot of its other philosophy, and then there's a few other like smatterings of things, but there's not much out there for like pure Livewire components. And obviously, I think Caleb will do a great job with it. So I'm all aboard the components. Whether or not like how much he integrates like other things into it, whether it's React or other things, I don't know. But yeah, I think it's gonna happen, and I think it'll be a big success for him. So I'm excited. I mean, some other stuff that's even come out of Component Talk is like the next day or whatever. He released the Anchor plugin. I don't know if you saw that, but
I did,
we
and
might
you
as well
seemed
talk
real
about that
excited
here.
about that.
Yeah, the Anchor plugin, super awesome. So it's just like a way, it's basically floating UI, I think it's called. It's kind of like a
Hmm.
Alpine wrapper for this existing positioning UI. But there's so many things where like special boxes or popovers or special inputs, you want something to pop up. And, the way Alpine does it natively, like you could kind of do it, but it doesn't like react automatically if the screen changes and whatever. There's just weird little things that go on with it. And with this, it's like, boom, perfect. Like you put this one
Right.
tag in, it all is magical. It works perfectly.
It
It's
has
super
collision
battle
detection
tested.
for like the edge of the screen.
All that stuff is built into it. And it just was like really smooth and everything too. So already we've gotten some upside in the community from the idea of future components with the X Anchor, which I'm sure is part of his thinking there. And I've already used it in the new HelpSpot stuff I'm doing to do some custom stuff. So definitely, if you haven't seen X Anchor, check that out because it's really, really good. You have to load
Dang,
it
that was
separately.
fast. You released it last week and you already got it installed and using it?
Literally, as he's building stuff, I'm like, dude, just send me whatever you have. Like as you're just building
you got
it.
these zip files of that code back there.
I've already got a zip file. Like I've got the inside track on a few things here, but let me tell you, I'm like, just send it to me because I'm like right in the middle of like, I'll be your guinea pig on things. Just send me whatever you have because I just want it all built in there wonderfully and built by the man himself. It just works so nice because he knows all the deep internals of everything. It's like when I'm trying to hack stuff in, I don't know the deep internals of anything, but he just knows all those deep internals and it's so good. So yeah, so some of that's ongoing, but
I think he's going to get fabulously wealthy off of Livewire components.
I was just going to ask you that. So what's your take on the
that's
Livewire
my take.
components?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
fabulous wealth.
Yeah, I think it's going to work. I think he's the only person that can do it.
Right.
Because of what you said and because of his distribution. I think the trick is it's a quagmire. I really think it's a quagmire of like with even just the combo box. Doing a combo box well is a huge amount of work. And so I don't know how much he can like I think he's out on the idea of leveraging like Radix or Shadcyan or something, like wrapping it.
Probably.
But I wonder how much he could just like learn from it in quotes, which means take it,
Right.
Like how much can he just take and convert to Alpine and just
rip
like
the core out.
Look down into their dirty secrets of make this work on IE 11 and this work on, Firefox and just be like, oh great, I don't have to learn that independently. I can just take what they learned and translate it to Alpine. So I think he's going to pull it off. I think it's just going to be really hard, but I think he'll get paid for it. So that's good.
Yeah. I mean, what's even like the tweet Adam had about, they are using React Aria. So like they are building on top of an existing, I don't know if React Aria has the full combo box or he's like merging different components of it together into a combo box. But either way, like even when building on top of a semi-established framework for this stuff, you can have issues and edge cases and all that. So definitely, but on the flip side, that's what you're getting paid for too. Like
right,
like
getting paid to eat glass so that other people don't have to. Yeah,
exactly. That's the value. Like if it was easy, then I wouldn't pay you anything, right? But it's not easy.
There'd be 10 open source versions of it already.
Right, exactly. So
like chat with my PDF. Upside. It must be easy because there are 100 open source versions. So backing up 2 seconds Are Tailwind Labs, are they abandoning headless UI, you think?
No, I don't think so. I think that came up recently, I think on Twitter or somewhere, and Adam was addressing that with somebody. So I don't think, they said they're not abandoning it, because also they also want to support Vue and that end of their world. So I think they're kind of in it for that. But I think it is mostly
headless
for
UI
their
is
own
so
stuff.
good.
I haven't used it, but it does seem good. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like it doesn't have everything, right? So then that's always led me to like, well, I'll just use Radix, which has almost everything. Even it doesn't have everything, but it's got more of everything. And with the components in React, you can just pretty easily mix and match. It's not that big a deal. So you can pull something from somewhere else or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're letting it die, but I think it's just going to be just another one. I'm pretty sure they're not using it on their new stuff, or at least not. Maybe they are using
Catalyst stuff. Is that the name of the new stuff?
Catalyst, yeah. Maybe they are using the combo box. They did have a combo box in headless UI, so maybe they're using some stuff and not other stuff. I don't know. That would be interesting to find out.
How much is completionism a big deal with these component libraries? Are you pretty comfortable mixing and matching?
Yeah, I think the React ones anyway worked really well mixed and matched. Like I think just based on like kind of the foundational elements of React, like you can compose them, which is like its whole
Mm-hmm.
thing. Obviously, like you can compose them like pretty easily and not run into too much trouble generally. So yeah, I think that is possible. But in terms of general completionist with library, like in the Livewire library, I feel like that
Yeah,
needs to be pretty complete.
I
Like
do too.
I don't think it could just be like 10 components. Like maybe it could start that way, but I think it needs to be fleshed out into like something pretty sizable. Would be my
Yeah.
take.
Yeah, I would think so. Just because there is no like Radix or Shadcyan to fall back
Right.
on.
Yeah. And even if some of them are not like Livewire ish really at all, like it's really just like a blade file essentially
Right.
that's
Yeah.
doing some Alpine stuff. Like some of them might just be things like that. Like here's an accordion. Like it's got nothing to do with Livewire at all. It's not Livewire in any way. It's not feeding back to the server, but it's just part of this library for completeness. And I can just know I have an accordion as part of this, even though it's not doing any server side stuff
Written to
per
the
se.
same standard and taste of
Right.
the rest of my component library.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
however I customize things, I customize this the same way as I customize the other stuff. And whatever, whatever the syntax, all that. Yeah. So it can all be the same, I think. And that stuff's easy too. Like he already has that stuff. So it's just about wrapping
Right.
it up
Yeah.
and, bundling it together there. So I don't think that'll be too hard. The hard stuff's definitely going to be your date pickers and your combo boxes
Yep.
and, over time. I mean, there's other types of components that I wish a lot of these things had like a dual, like a, you ever see like where it's like two big select boxes and you can list movers, I think they're called, like you can move
Yeah.
between.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of these other components that even these other frameworks don't have. And it's like, oh, like I'd love in my component library to be able to handle some of these more edge case or trees, like really good trees.
Yep.
More like B2B type stuff, not really stuff consumer apps would use so much.
Well,
But
that's when you get into these other worlds that have real component libraries, like the .NET world or the Java
Right.
world,
They
and you're
have all
paying
that stuff.
$1,000 a year a seat per
Right.
developer,
Right.
and it's like you've got hundreds of components and you have
Yep.
all that wacky stuff like you're talking
Yep.
about, because it is truly like somebody working in the guts of AT&T and they need
Right.
some random B2B component, and they're like, yeah, we'll pay $5,000 a year for our 5 developers to access this. I think component libraries are so tempting as a developer to want to do, because it's
Right.
it's so fun, and it's so like there's so many discrete little things that you get to work on,
Yep.
and each one is its own little universe of problems, and
Right.
the boundaries are well defined, and so you get to work on all these, you get to fiddle. I feel like you get to do a lot of fiddling, and so it seems like a whole lot of fun to write one and put one together, until you interact with like, oh, how do I do styling, how do I do props, how do I do It's
Right.
like, I don't want to do that. Yeah.
Or browsers and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Like the worst case scenario for browser stuff. But well, that is interesting about components too. There's like those 3 layers. There's like open source. There's like buy once or maybe annual, but it's still cheap, which is kind of like what I think the Livewire ones are probably going to be, at least initially, right? Like it's $300, whether that's once or whether that's a year or it's something like that. And there's not necessarily like per seat limits and stuff.
Right.
And then there are those like really big frameworks that are like, yeah, it's like $1,000 a developer seat a year, but it has everything. We have actually bought one of those for the old HelpSpot, or the current HelpSpot, just for the date picker. Like I literally pay like $800 a year for a date picker, because there was the only one that would do whatever. We had different limitations, and we were not even doing like airline stuff or anything. Like there's not even like range selecting and stuff in our case, but it was just to make it work. It was like the best one. And so, yeah, people pay for stuff like that.
That was the original thesis behind Hammerstone that we did not officially pull off, but it was like, if we could do this one thing super well, then people would pay for it. Because at Resolute, the company that I used to work at for many, many years, we paid, I think, $1,000 a seat a year for a grid or spreadsheet implementation. We used a hands-on table, which was incredibly good. And it was just like, all they did was the spreadsheet part. They didn't do any of the like syncing to the back end or anything like that. It was just presentational grid, and it was a great component. But they had like I think they had a team of like 15 full-time people working on it. It's like y'all are making millions of dollars a year off of this one component.
Yep.
That it's just I feel like it's pure. It's like the developer thinks of it as pure developing. Like I'm just going to work on this one component. I don't
Right.
have to worry about all this other like, product market fit. I just need to build a component. And if it's good enough, people will pay me for it. It's like,
Yeah, there are those little
maybe,
niches
but
in
it
there.
seems, yeah,
It's you have to
sounds
have just the
nice.
right thing for that. Yeah.
I
Even
agree.
this date one we use is like part of a bigger library, but we just use only the date. But like, yeah, that is just like literally a single component. But it's like, I think developers and bootstrapper type developers especially get caught up in like the price of things, like like nobody's gonna pay
Yes.
for that, whatever. But it's like, no, like building that spreadsheet component, you're literally talking about thousands of hours of development time,
Thousands,
and
yes.
you're not even going to do it as well after
To make a
thousands of hours,
much
right?
worse
Like,
version. Yes.
right. So it's like, yeah, because so I could or I could spend $1,000 and I could be productive 5 minutes from now and building the actual whatever business
Yep.
thing I'm supposed to be building with this, not off on the side quest of like building our own internal spreadsheet builder, which is, obviously insane, right? So
Yeah.
so you're like, boom, no problem, $1,000, great. Like, not even a question. We're just going to buy it without thinking about
Yep.
it. So yeah, if you can find those niches where there's not like the problem with some of those niches is like the open source versions eat you up because it's like, well,
Yes.
there's this open source version that's like really good and it's good enough and whatever. I'm just going to use it without even having to go to my boss to ask for
Right.
$1,000 or whatever. But some of these things
Yeah.
like that, it's not the case. Like where this is just better than those other alternatives.
Yeah, it's tempting. I hope Caleb pulls it off. I think he will. I think he
Yeah,
has
I
good
think he
enough
will, too.
taste that he can do it.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm excited for it. All right. What should
All right,
we do
where do you want to go
today?
next?
I got a new car.
You got a new car.
Got a new car.
What did you get? Cybertruck?
I got two Cybertrucks. I got a matte black Cybertruck. Did you see that thing going around
I
the internet?
did. I've got thoughts
That thing
on it,
is-
but
let's
yeah.
should we talk Cybertruck quick? Let's
Let's
we'll
talk
about
Cybertruck real quick. Sorry to preempt your big news.
No, let's do it.
So Cybertruck, I will start by saying not my preferred shape of a vehicle. I don't love it.
Definitely not.
So
I do not love
don't
it.
I don't love it. Here's the thing. Here's my meta analysis on it. Everyone right now is like making fun of the build quality and dunking on how it looks and saying it looks really stupid, and I just don't have the energy for that. Like I can look
Right.
at the truck and say like I'm not going to buy that. But I can also
Right.
look at, whatever the Kia Soul or any, those those cars that look like a box on wheels. I can look at that and say, no, I'm not going to buy that. I think the thing I'm down on is people like saying that looking at it and saying, they're going to go broke. This is the stupidest thing ever. Look how bad the build quality is. And I'm like,
Oh yeah, I don't think
mean,
that. Yeah.
it's got like almost the most valuable company in the world in Tesla. It's like, yeah, they do things too fast. They rush things out the door. He drives his personality's a little too hard driving, but like, I don't know. They kind of pull stuff off, don't they? Yeah, you don't have to like the truck, but they
Right.
pull stuff off. So that's my meta analysis. I will not be buying one, regardless of if they fix the build quality. But
Right.
that's my take on it.
Yeah, it's just not I'm a huge truck guy. I'm a Texas level truck guy.
Wow,
Love truck. You wouldn't have guessed that, right? But I love
wouldn't
trucks.
have guessed that.
I'm a big truck guy. Even though I don't haul gravel all day, I just feel like trucks are so
Oh, that's not
incredibly
what
useful.
trucks are for.
I
Yeah,
know.
nobody uses trucks
Not
for
in
that.
America.
No, no
So,
way.
you got 3 kids, man. You got stuff to haul in the truck. There's always something I need a truck for. I haven't had a truck the last few years. I missed it. But yeah, Cybertruck, like it's not even that useful as a truck is kind of my main beef. Like those like back being so angled, like you can't put stuff across the back. Like
Oh, that's true.
I don't know, it hurts the
What's the bed
truckiness
size
of it.
compared to like an F-150? Is it similar bed
I
size?
think it's similar to like the crew cab type version of F-150.
Okay.
So to the smaller bed size.
Okay.
It's not like one of the real big beds, but yeah, I don't know. The only cool thing, I dislike literally everything about the Cybertruck. But the only cool thing I will say about it is that I do like this idea of it being just a giant canvas for like custom graphics. Like if you
Yeah.
want to put some custom graphics on that thing, like, it's sort of cool for that since it's just like a big square blank slate looking
Right.
thing. So that's sort of interesting, but yeah, not my cup of tea. So, but related, so I got a Rivian R1T, which is the Rivian truck.
Rivian R1T.
Yeah,
Rivian
so electric, my first electric
R1T.
car, back in the truck game after not having a truck for like 2 years, which was making me
this.
crazy. It's very
This
nice.
is cool
Looks like a truck.
looking.
Yeah, it's great. It looks like a truck, like a proper truck, but it's, a little swoopier than kind of your F-150s, a little smaller than the F-150.
It is a little swoopier.
But still big. It's bigger than I thought it would be. Actually, it's I think it's even bigger. Like I've had a couple of Ridgelines, Honda Ridgelines. I think it's bigger than the Ridgeline was.
This is cool. All right, so talk me through the thought process here when you were evaluating. Ian needs a new vehicle. How did we end up here?
Ian has had a lot of different vehicles over the years, and I hate rebuying the same vehicles, and then that limits me. And then
interesting. I love rebuying the same thing all the time.
I don't like. Yeah, it's like the socks, right? I don't know. I like
such a
variety.
satisficer. You're such a maximizer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to maximize.
Okay, so the Ridgeline was out because you'd already bought one at some point.
Yeah,
so that's
I've
out.
actually had two. That was one where I broke my rules.
Embarrassing. Can you imagine?
Different models. So one was the like original Ridgeline, and one was the next generation Ridgeline. So, but I couldn't go back there. So,
okay.
Yeah, wanted a truck, and there's not really many options in this segment. That's the thing. If you don't want the because like the full, I was still thinking like a Tundra, but it's so huge. It's just like that's just too big. Like then you get into like parking's annoying and whatever. Just big truck problems. And I don't necessarily.
Did you look at the Tacoma, which is the step down?
Well, I've had a Tacoma, so that is mostly off the list.
Yeah.
But I do like the Tacoma a lot. It's a little like for me, I'm 6'4", and it's a little bit squatter than like a Ridgeline or the R1T.
Toyotas are not enormous. I have a 4Runner, and I'm only 6'1", and I feel a little bit hunched in that.
I think they might even be the same frame. No, I think I think that might be built on a Tacoma body, if I recall. But
that would make sense.
So yeah, so in there it's a little and like the tech is not like they haven't updated the tech in these things in forever. I don't know really why. Some was a little like you're in there with like I think they have like now at least a little screen. The one I had like essentially no screen, but so I don't know. So I was and that's like kind of it. There's like the Ridgeline is a Tacoma. There's the Ford Maverick, which is even smaller. I didn't really want to go that small. Or like the F-150 or the Lightning, which is electric F-150, which is interesting. But again, it's like full size truck, which I was trying to at least be a little bit smaller than that. So anyway, I ended up on, and the other thing was Rivian has only previously been selling. So this is why I didn't do this before. Like they started with the Tesla kind of model, essentially of like the highest end.
Super high end.
It's like the only super high end. And I didn't want the highest end one. I didn't want the 4 motors. I didn't want to go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. Like whatever. I don't care about any of that. So
you lose all their plywood out the back if you do that.
So they came out with a cheaper. It's still not cheap, but a lower end model, which only has 2 motors and some other things. Whatever. I just got one. The only thing I have is like the large, which is like the medium sized battery pack. But they don't even make the small, so it's still kind of like the cheapest you can get. But so I got literally the cheapest R1T you can get. And
so let's talk range. So what do you get? Have you taken delivery of it?
Yeah, so I've been driving around for a couple weeks now. Yep.
All right, let's talk first impressions, and then I want to hear range.
First impressions was very good. It's really nice inside. I don't like it's like leatherette, which is not my favorite. I'm more of a real leather man, but it's fine. One pedal driving was really weird. Like, so I had to go to Brooklyn to pick it up. And you don't know about the one pedal driving?
One pedal driving?
Oh man.
What?
So Texas, they only have the gasoline vehicles. They don't have the electric yet. So
this is not a Texas thing. Cars have 2 pedals. What are you talking about?
So it still has 2 pedals, but you barely ever use the brake. So when you let off the gas, it brakes.
Because it does like the recharge or the reclaim.
It recharges, yeah. So it's not really braking; it's braking with the engine, I guess you'd say, or the transmission. I don't know what's going on in there, but it's regenerative.
Who can say for
better
sure?
At braking, yeah.
Just blow past it,
right? We're past that now in the age of cars of having any idea what the hell, how anything works.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so getting used to that. So this was a weird, I've never driven one like that before, except for like a golf cart, which works the same way or whatever. But, so I'm in Brooklyn, and this Rivian place is like in the bowels of Brooklyn. So it's really like, where it's basically just like all warehouses and stuff and crowded streets and trucks on the road and people double parked and whatever. So I'm
lots
like
of honking, lots of scaffolding, lots of I'm walking
no
here.
scaffolding, actually. No scaffolding in Brooklyn. That's a Manhattan thing. But so yeah, so figuring out the one pedal driving like in this like little bit tougher environment was a little tricky, but we made it out. And yeah, it's good. I mean, I would say you have to think about the battery more than you do in a gas car. Think about the gas, because you're like, whatever, I could run this thing down to 2 miles, and I know somewhere in 2 miles like there's a gas station, and it's not a problem. And I don't have the home charger set up yet, so I can only do like the trickle charging from a regular outlet, which only gives you like, I don't know, maybe like 20 miles in overnight or something like that. So
geez, that's nothing.
Yeah, so it's a little like, I did one big trip in it already, so I had to like stop and use a charger, or I've used 2 other chargers so far, and that's worked out fine though. Like,
do you have access to the Tesla supercharger network?
So we will, and we do a little bit. So a certain number of Tesla stations already have the ability to charge other types of cars, and there's one not that far from me, like 20 miles away. So I've been to that one.
That's just right on the edge of what you get with your trickle charge.
So well, we happen to be, when you're out that way, it's like you have to think about it that way, right? Well, I'm going to be over there, so I guess I'll top up with the supercharger.
Interesting.
So but next in 2024, Rivian will have access to all the Tesla network. So yeah, so then it'll be fine, because those are pretty common around here. And I do have the thing getting installed at my house, so that I have the faster charging at home. It's still not as fast as a high-speed charger, but it's like 20 miles an hour it'll charge. So for me, that's overnight, gonna be like totally fine. Yeah. So
what is that? Like a 240 volt thing? Like a washer dryer plug you got to get installed or something?
You could do it as a plug, but safer to have it just hardwired. And since I don't have a plug there anyway, like they're just going to run it from the box to it's right next to the garage, so it'll be pretty straightforward for them to put in.
Okay, cool.
So it is nice to not go to gas stations.
Are you doing it to save the earth, or are you doing it because it's super cool? Okay.
Yeah. No. I don't even think that's true. Like, I think that's all BS. Like, I don't think it's saving anything. Like, I mean, there's by the time you like build all these batteries and all this stuff, like, I don't think it's actually saving the earth per se. I am a big fan indirectly of the I'm definitely not doing it for that, but I do like the idea of it pushing people towards nuclear. I'm a big nuclear energy fan. More nukes. We need nukes everywhere.
Agreed.
Like, that's the solution to every problem is nuclear energy. So whatever. The more I can help strain the grid, maybe they'll actually build some new nuclear plants in America at some point. But so yeah, not for that. I mean, I think they are just better cars. Like, the electric does have some nice advantages, especially once the infrastructure. I do think it is still an early adopter type thing though, because there is this like hassle factor that is not there with a gas car. But
no.
But yeah, I do think it is nicer. Like, the acceleration's nice. Just like the tech is nice. I mean, the tech, some of it is like you could put this tech in a gas car. I don't know why, for the most part, they don't put the tech in the gas car, but so some of it is indifferent in that way, but it's just nice. Like, whatever, I have a frunk, and the frunk is awesome because like I can put stuff in a truck that's locked away instead of having to just always make the bed work for everything. And there's another trunk in the back.
You don't have to get a bed cover and lock to hide anything.
I hate bed covers, actually. Yeah. So like so yeah, so far so good. I mean, obviously like, there's a lot of benefits to that, not having an engine. It's safer and blah, blah. So we'll see how it goes. So far, so good. No trouble. Digging it. But we'll see. I've used the truck bed multiple times already. It's so nice to have a truck at the house. If you have kids and you don't have a truck, you're making a big mistake. Get a truck. Aaron, you need a truck.
Well, we just got the minivan. Yeah, I don't know how many more vehicles we can hold at this house.
Swap out the 4Runner.
Am I going to become a truck guy?
Oh, the truck is so good. First of all, you live in Texas, you have to have a truck. Second of all, the truck is so good. You have 4 kids. You must have a truck. It's just required.
Yeah, but like 4 kids can't fit in a truck.
It doesn't matter. It's not about hauling the kids. It's about the stuff.
It's about the stuff.
Bringing stuff in, throwing stuff out, whatever, all this stuff. You're going to need stuff. A truck makes stuff easier.
Yeah.
Trust me, a few years from now, there's going to be all this garbage and junk. Your wife's going to be yelling at you to get rid of this crap. You're going to be trying to shove it in the back of their 4Runner. That's always a disaster. Stuff's leaking. Like, you just need a truck.
Yeah. The nasty garbage that leaks is the like primary use case for a truck.
Oh, it's so good to have the truck.
And
not
a
even
sheet
think
of
about
plywood, a 4x8 sheet of plywood.
Yes. You build the next shed quarters. You're gonna need.
Yeah,
to have
I
a
know.
Truck.
I was filling up the 4Runner with stuff that didn't fit, and I'm hanging out the back and trying to like toe strap it down so it doesn't fly out.
If you just had a truck, you don't even have to worry about any of that. You just boom, throw it in. It's done. You go to the beach. I mean, I'm a big beach truck and the beach guy.
I know.
Ride on the beach. The kids in the back. There's nothing. Kids love being in the back of the truck.
Kids do love being in the back of the truck.
So
There's a 0% chance my wife would let any of our kids ride in the back of the truck. At least not for like 15 years.
No. If you're on the beach, you're not going fast. I'm not a fan of like go down the road in the truck. But if you're just on the beach and you're going 15 miles an hour and you're bouncing and it's like the ocean, it's so good.
0% chance. I'll just re-up on my 0% there.
Hey, so let's get a kid update. When are these kids coming?
Boy, they're coming, aren't they?
Soon, right? We're in November now.
Soon. The final day possible would be the day before Thanksgiving. So that would be, I think, the 23rd. So we have a C-section scheduled for the 23rd.
Okay.
Because it's twins.
Deadline.
You don't have a choice.
Yep.
So 23rd, I don't know that we'll make it that far. I think the 23rd would be 37 weeks, I think, is right. And I think with the first two, we actually got pretty close to 37 weeks. But they're both measuring, each child, remember there are two, each child is measuring 6 pounds right now.
Wow. That's a lot of baby in there.
It's a lot of baby. So it's great news because I mean,
big healthy oxes.
Super viable. Maybe no NICU time at all. We didn't have any NICU time the first round, and I think they came out at like 6'6" and 6'0".
Nice.
So yeah, man. It could be. I mean, it could be right now. It could be literally today.
Oh man, how great would it be if she just busts in right now and is like, "Let's go!"
It'd make great content, but I am not ready.
Yeah, you're never ready. You're never ready. Then they'll show
I know,
up
but I'm not. I'm like less than never ready right now. I'm just super not ready. This weekend, so Friday, Planet Scale had the day off. We do every first Friday is a day off. First Friday of the month. And so I drove down to Austin because there's like a group of internet friends, bootstrappers that we hang out in this Slack chat, and once a year we get together.
Right.
And so they were in Austin this week, I think starting like on Wednesday and finishing up on like Sunday morning or something. And I was, originally supposed to go and do this whole retreat thing. And then we found out we were pregnant with twins, and it's, they're due any second. So I drove down Friday morning and drove back Friday night because I'm like, I can't be away for even 3.5 hours away. Like if, it's midnight and she's like, well, it's time to have these babies. Like I can't be in Austin.
Yeah, you don't want to miss the babies. Yeah, that would
goodness,
bad luck.
So yeah,
got a little FaceTime in though. A little FaceTime.
Yeah, shook some hands, kissed some babies. It was good. It was good to see. They're all friends that I've known for many, many years. Some going on like maybe 12 years now. Oh. And we do these retreats once a year, and it's really fun. It's a fun format. It's like beforehand, you're supposed to work up some slides of like where you're at with your business and what you need help with. And then each person gets 1 hour like moderated hot seat. And so the person goes up to the front, they have the TV, everybody's sitting around kind of just like, drinking sodas and taking notes, and they go through their presentation. And then there's also a moderator that helps keep, the peanut gallery on track instead of like Because, when you get a bunch of nerds together, we all like focus in on one thing. And then the
Right.
person is like, hey, that's actually like 2% of my business. And I don't want to talk about that thing. And
Right.
so the moderator is there to be the bad guy and be like, no, 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 no. Y'all back up. We're trying to talk about this thing. And
Right.
so, I was only there for maybe 5 or 6 presentations.
Oh,
But
wow.
they probably
Not a lot.
did, yeah, they probably did, 18 over the course of
Wow.
the 3 or 4 days. And so it's super fun. And then we cater in all the food so we don't have to go anywhere, so that we don't waste any time like trying to figure out where can we take 20 people.
Right.
And then at night you just kind of hang out, and some people did an escape room. Lots of people just hung out, and I think some people brought like consoles, and they played video games and stuff. And so very, very fun. Highly recommend the retreat format.
Yeah, we do a thing like that with some of the Laravel people. We've been doing this for a long time now. We kind of outgrew MicroConf, and then we're just like, well, let's just do our own thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But we jettison all the formality, so there's no presentations. There's no anything.
Y'all's is just a sweet hang, right?
We just have a cabana and we drink, and then people bring up, we do talk about some business stuff, but it's more informal than that.
Yeah.
But I always take something away from it too, business-wise, so it still works out, but it is less formal than that. I was interested in these formal ones. I know a few people who do this type of thing, and people seem to really like it and get a lot out of it, but
I really like the formal one. I would like a sweet hang with, 5 or 7 people, but when you have, 18 people there,
yeah, that's
it's nice to have a little bit of structure.
Yeah. We're usually 10, not usually more than 10. So yeah, when you get over that, it does get a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I had something else. No, I can't remember. All right, so kids are coming. Oh, Planet Scale. So you taking actual time off, or what? How's that work?
Yeah.
What's your paternity leave situation?
The paternity leave at Planet Scale is extremely generous. It's 12 weeks,
wow.
just fully off. When the first set of twins came, I think I had a week or 2 fully off, and then 4 or 5 weeks of part-time, old company. And
Right.
Planet Scale is just exceedingly generous with their paternity leave. And it's really interesting. I would have thought of this, but it's set up to exactly mirror the maternity leave.
Right.
And I thought well, that's nice, but I don't understand why. And I've come to realize it's to incentivize or to not disincentivize people to hire women. It's like, oh, if I'm going to hire a man and his wife has a baby, then he gets 2 weeks off and he's going to be right back to work.
Right.
I'm like, oh, so instead of cutting the maternity leave short, you just made the paternity leave matching and generous. And
Yeah.
I know.
Awesome.
So good for Planet Scale, and good for me. So 12 weeks off. There's a part of me that feels like, geez, that's really long, isn't it?
Right.
And, we've got this whole YouTube video project thing going. And so I'm kind of I kind of want to make sure that this ball keeps rolling. And my boss is like, well, you're going to have 12 weeks off and you should take it all and not work. And so it's kind of weird. I'm like, hey, what if I did some work? And she's like, what if you didn't work at all? So
that is kind of interesting because you're not, your situation is very different, right? It's not like, well, you're down in the dungeon slapping some code around,
right?
And so somebody else will fix those bugs while you're gone,
right?
And whatever, who cares? Things go a little slower, but it's fine. But you're kind of like the face of the company on at least one platform, and really multiple platforms. So
I know.
That's a little different situation for the face to just disappear for.
I know, and I don't super love that. Yeah, I feel like a big part of my career is investing in this strategy that we're doing, and I kind of want to make sure that I see it through. Yes, I'm entitled to.
Are you canning anything or?
I'm trying. We tried a longer form strategy recently, and so I wasn't able to churn out many short form being 5 to 10 minutes.
Right.
And so I don't have as many in the can as I want. But yeah, my goal for this week and next week is to just go goblin mode and make as many videos as I possibly can.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in this weird spot where it's my boss and the CEO and everybody's like, dude, just take the time off. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think that's a good idea. And so I don't know. We'll see. I just really, I don't know. I'm definitely entitled to it, and everyone is telling everyone that matters, i.e., the reporting structure above me, is
Right.
saying take it. But I feel like is that a good move? And I don't know. Depends
I
on
mean,
how many I get done. I think in the can. Like it depends on how many I can
right.
bank.
Yeah. I mean, especially those first like month or 6 weeks, they're just gonna be like absolutely brutal because like the kids
Yeah.
change so much. Like, I mean, by week 3 or 4, the kids like doubled in size, and like it's usually
Yes.
like a totally different. Like they're kind of half holding their head, like when they're just like a blob of mush. Like the day they come out, they're
Yeah.
like, you got so much to do. I mean, still always so much to do later too, but at least they're more real and solid. A month in or 2 months in, so. Yeah, it's tricky. I never really took much time off. I definitely wish I'd taken more. I mean, it's a little different my situation, but it's just like obviously people would do cover for me at least with the last two. The first one, I think I had no employees. So that was not fun. That
No.
was just like
That
I
sounds
just went back
bad.
to work like that night, basically answering support at least and stuff. But the other two, there was people who did support and everything, so that was fine. But still would work, and I do think it is nice to just, especially with the 4. I mean, the older two are gonna need stuff, even with the au pair. Like they're gonna need you, and then obviously just all the stuff with the baby. So yeah, but at the same time, maybe towards the back end, if you slap together a video or something, probably not the end of the world. You'll be getting bored at times too. So.
Yeah, that's how I felt with the first two. Is at some point it's like this is really not that hard. Like
right, you're in the zone, and
few
all the stuff now.
Yeah, a few weeks in, or maybe a month or two in, it's like honestly they sleep a lot, and then they eat, and then you can kind of just plop them.
Right.
You
That's
just
the
put them
nice.
down.
This phase is nice. You can just plop them.
Yeah.
Like they're where I left them. I put them over there, and
Exactly.
they're still there.
I put them on the little boppy in their little snuggie or whatever it's called, swaddle, and they just stay there and they just look around. It's like, oh, this is really easy. Whereas the 2-year-olds, 2.5-year-olds, you can't take your eyes off of them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the other thing, you do have a lot riding on. Are this set equally as good as the first set in terms of sleeping? Like if they end up being bad sleepers, then all bets are off, and who knows what's going to happen. We may not see you at all for 3 months. You might be totally underground.
Exactly.
So hopefully they are good sleepers. We have some genetic proof that the first set is a good pair. So I mean, you have all that whole stuff. The first one's interfering with the second group here and waking people up and stuff like that. There's more. It's not going to be a perfectly quiet house like it was the first time.
No.
So some stuff like that going on, but hopefully not an issue.
Hopefully not.
Right.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We'll keep you posted.
Babies are coming. I don't know. Should we talk about where do you want to go? We got 2 more topics on here.
Yeah, I just added one. I just added a tweet. Have you read the tweet?
Yeah.
You want to do that one?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here's the tweet from Adib Hannah. PHP/Laravel is probably the most enjoyable language framework to work with, but it's also the least paying. Ever since I switched to Go/Node, my salary almost doubled.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a couple of me toos in the replies as well.
Yep.
So as a longtime Laravel jobs person, tell me what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably roughly correct, just generally speaking. I mean, I think but there's like the big trade-offs there of just because you know a language doesn't mean you can get a job in that language. There's presumably less jobs in those languages in general. I think there's likely way less jobs for a pure Go developer than a pure Laravel developer. So are you able to like not just learn the language, but then become proficient, show you're proficient and all those type of things? Do you want to even do that? So there's a lot of factors there that I think are more complicated than that tweet, which is just like, if I learn Go, I will make double the money. I don't think that's true, sort of on the surface there. What do you think about that?
That seems right to me. I think, I think the top maybe 3 to 4% of Laravel jobs probably pay equivalent to most of the other jobs, maybe top 5 to 7% or
Yeah,
something. And I
see
feel
that.
like if you're so I what I mean to say is I don't think you can be an average or below average PHP developer and then pick up another language and go get one of these top paying jobs at Vercel or wherever,
Right.
whoever hires Go people or JavaScript people. But I think it is interesting. I think the Stack Overflow survey recently that came out a couple months ago, maybe it was pretty clear that JavaScript developers on average get paid more. But the thing
Yeah.
I don't understand about that is, so I feel like you and I operate just kind of in a separate world of almost purely Laravel developers and not PHP, not Symfony, not WordPress.
Right.
And I just don't know how much that survey reflects that reality. And I think the base, like the sample size is so much larger for PHP
Right. It's a much
that the
wider group that
yeah,
you're.
there are
Yeah.
just so many more low paying jobs because there are so many more jobs, and it is kind of like a beginner friendly language historically. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
I agree. And I think also like a lot of these like JavaScript jobs, there's less of them. They are heavy in these the Vercels of the world. Hey, we just got $300 million. We need to blow
Right.
$300 million. So we're going to like pay top dollar for these roles we have because we're not going to put a lot of like time into like, we're going to let the money do some of the work for us. Like it's going to be a very high paying job, very highly qualified people are going to apply, and we're going to filter that way versus like maybe going a different route with that. So yeah, I don't know. So the way less like I think front end React developers than PHP developers, right? Like what 1/100th as many or 1/50th as many, like a lot less, I would say,
Yeah.
than PHP developers. So
Just because there are so many PHP developers.
yeah,
There are
there's
also a
so
lot
many.
of these front end React only, but the PHP universe is just so
Yeah,
freaking
it's
big.
way bigger, way bigger. I feel like, in Twitter, it can feel like, oh man, there's React developers everywhere. But the reality is there's way, way more PHP developers out
Yeah,
there.
I think you're probably right.
It also depends a lot on the jobs. Like, yeah, like you're not going to use PHP to launch a missile, right? Or to like send
Hopefully
a
not.
satellite into space.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that would be recommended. So, but maybe you would use Go for that, or certainly you'd use C++ or
Right.
something like that. So yeah, if you go become a C++ guru, you could get a job working at SpaceX firing missiles, which is going to be a much higher paying job than, building a website or a B2B SaaS app is probably going to pay you. But, again, like you also going to have to be the best of the best. You probably have to have like a whole additional set of knowledge, I would think, with mathematics and things beyond just, yes, I know how C++ works. You might have to have a little more other knowledge beyond just the code. So, there's so many factors. I think it's hard to just, I don't like that blanket statement in general that I definitely think it's a bad career idea to just be like, well, I'll just learn this and then I'll get paid twice as much. Like, I don't think that's going to work out for most people.
Yeah, and
in
I feel
that
like
way
this
exactly.
guy, I feel like Adib is kind of a senior developer anyway, and I feel
Right.
like for a senior developer, that may be more of a viable strategy. Like
I'm
if
gonna
you're a senior
graduate.
developer and you already have all of like the kind of like the other stuff, like not the programming, but all the other stuff that senior developers know, like
Right.
trade-offs being one of them,
Right.
and all the stuff that you have to know to be a senior, and you're like, well, I'm just going to switch over to a different language. I feel like that's a much more viable strategy than I've just learned PHP. I'm going to go just learn Node or Go, and then I'm going to get paid a ton. It's like, I
And it's
don't
also
know.
this is not even really a new idea, and I don't think it's even that. It's you can make the same case with .NET and any other language or framework. I feel like, especially these widely used ones, because it's like you become a senior developer, and then you usually have like a choice, right? Like you have like one of three choices. Like I become the manager, which is like what a lot of people do. Like in order for me to move up and get paid more money, I become the manager of other devs, right?
Yep.
Or else I move to like a more a rarer language or some in-demand language or something like that, where I can take these baseline skills that apply everywhere and then apply them to this new language and be already kind of ahead of the curve there.
Yeah.
Or like I go start my own thing because now I know all the stuff coding wise, and maybe I get a founding partner who does marketing stuff and whatever. I go do that route. So like, yeah, I think that this is kind of like not that. I don't think it's Laravel specific at all. And and in general, I think it's kind of a standard career path of like a senior developer is like, yeah, you get to a point where you're going to have to make a choice of if you're looking to go progress forward, right? Like a lot of people also hit that and they're like, well, I'm 40 and I got 2 kids and I'm like, cool, just like this job pays well. And I just want to work my 35 hours a week. And I'm not trying to like also learn a side thing and get a new job at a startup or whatever. Like I don't want to do that whole thing. So yeah, I'm fine with this, which is a 4th choice, of course, as well. But yeah, so I don't know. I think it's fine, but not really Laravel specific would be mine.
Yeah, interesting anecdata, at least from this one person, to switch over like that. And I think, man, I don't know. It's just so hard to make opinions or have opinions about the PHP industry as a whole because I just am not a part of it.
Yeah.
And I also, frankly, I haven't done like the pure developer job hunt in a long, long time.
Right.
Like I was at Resolute for 5 years, and then I left to go to Tuple for a second, and then now I'm at Planet Scale, and none of those have been I'm looking for a job in Laravel.
Right.
So I just don't even have enough opinions really to say.
Yeah, well, you're kind of you've made a different choice when you reach a certain level. It's like this is more like developer relations, or however, I don't know what you would even classify your
developer educator. Developer relations folks have a lot of opinions about what makes a DevRel, and I don't have any opinions. I just teach people MySQL. So developer educator.
All right, there you go, developer educator. Yeah. So yeah. So I guess that's my take.
That's a good take. All right, you got a few minutes. I got one final wrap up story if you want to end here.
Yeah, give us a story.
So I'm at this this little bootstrappers retreat, right? And we're in between sessions and we're hanging out, and I've got my Vuari joggers on. So I've got these, I've got joggers on, I've got a pair of Nikes on. Yeah. And I have my legs crossed. I'm talking to a friend. You know Andrew Culver. I'm talking to Andrew.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're just hanging out on the couch talking, and out of nowhere he says, "Okay, so do you wear socks with these shoes? Because I'm always trying to figure out if I should wear socks or just go no socks." And I kid you not,
he found the right man.
I kid you not. A guy sitting on my right, so Andrew's on my left. A guy sitting on my right, who's also a friend, started laughing, and he said, "Are you serious? Are you doing a bit?" And I looked over at that guy, and I was like, I don't think he listens to the podcast. And he goes, "They talk about socks. It's basically a sock podcast." And Andrew was like, "No, I haven't listened. Tell me, what's the story?" So out and about in the world, people are still inquiring about my socks. And thankfully, we had a faithful friend and listener who could back me up there. But I showed Andrew the way. I told him the truth of the philosophy, and he's into it. He loves it.
He's on board. And I assume you actually had socks on.
I did. The only socks I own. I was wearing them. Yes. Yep.
And now, okay, I had another question about this because I'm wearing your socks, right? And
love it.
I normally wear Stan Smiths, which I don't know if you're familiar with those.
Yeah.
I would say they still show just slightly with the Stan Smiths. So now,
Stan Smith is a low rise.
It's a low rise. And do you base your shoe selection on the sock philosophy? So like, are you, when you go to pick out shoes, being like, nope, these are too low rise, I can't buy these, even if I like them otherwise?
I have switched off of mostly all low rise shoes for other reasons. But so most historically for like the past 10 or 15 years, all shoes I have are the Nike size, like they go up that high. So it's like New Balance, Nike, something that goes up a little higher, and no more. Yeah, no more CVs or Vans or anything that's low rise. So I don't know which dog is wagging the tail or the tail is wagging the dog, but yeah, they work together well.
Okay. Yeah, because I noticed that in some shot you had of your socks, and I was like, oh, well, his shoes. Maybe it was when you were in here, I guess, showing them to Caleb. When else would I have seen
Yeah.
your feet? I
I
was like, oh,
don't
that's a
know.
little higher. That's a little higher shoe there. So
Yeah,
there we
it's a
go.
little taller shoe. Fits my my body shape a little more. Because sometimes if I wear the really low rise shoes, they look
Mm.
a little like ballet slippers because
Oh,
you know, tall guy, big legs, little bitty shoes, and it's like,
okay.
yeah. I tried the whole CVs thing for a long time, and I liked them, but decided nah, it's not gonna work for me anymore.
I love when the podcast makes its way out into the real world, like that
I
the
know, it was
humans are out
crazy.
there. Yeah, that's
It
the
was crazy.
best.
He asked me that question, and my eyes just got really wide. And fortunately,
And then there's an answer right there.
yeah,
One
fortunately,
of
I
our
had a friend,
disciples.
I had a
Yeah,
listener there, and I was
disciple.
like,
That's what he
okay,
is.
somebody caught that, and he said, you got to tell Ian about this on the show. And so I was
There we
like,
are. We're here.
yes. So there we go. We'll
Uh,
wrap on that. You want to tell them where they can
Beautiful.
find us?
Yes, everybody can find us at mostlytechnical.com, mostly tech pod on Twitter, because I will not say X, and mostlytechnicalpodcast at gmail.com. So hit us up there. Also in the YouTube comments and just on our personal Twitters and all that stuff as well. So if you have anything you'd like to share, let us know, and we will see you probably next week, unless there's an emergency podcast in the middle,
That's
in which
right.
case it'll be sooner, or Aaron has some babies in the mix here and we have to delay at some point a little bit. But otherwise, we'll see you in a week.
All right.
Later.
See ya.
Bye.